Okay. Namaste, children. This is again for classes 6 to 9. The lesson is matter around us. We have covered few topics of matter around us, especially the small topics like the classification of matter on the basis of physical state at given temperature and pressure conditions or given standard conditions as solids, liquids, gases, plasma, Bose-Einstein condensate, etc. We also studied the differences between those physical states. Then we studied the classification of matter on the basis of whether the matter is pure or impure. Okay. Some substances are pure, like pure water, pure gold, pure carbon, pure sulfur, okay, pure sugar, pure sodium chloride, etc. Okay. So there are some substances which are pure, in which no more element or substance is mixed. They are known as pure substances, and they are again classified as elements and compounds. Okay. Then other one is impure substances. We will study the details of elements and compounds afterwards. Okay, maybe after completion of impure substances. So pure substances are elements and compounds. Impure substances are mixers. Impure substances are mixers. When you mix something in other one, it becomes a mixture. Okay. So they are not pure, of course. They are not pure. And these mixtures are of two types, homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homo means same, hetero means different. Homogeneous mixtures means, in a mixer, maybe there are two components or maybe there are three components. That means you can make a mixture of two things or three things or four things or maybe more than that. And if those component particles appear uniform throughout the mass, then the mixture is known as homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixture. In case if the particles are not uniform, that means you can see component A more visible in bigger particles, in the form of bigger particles than B, and B is more visible than C when you have A, B and C mixed. So that means they are not distributed uniformly. Then the mixture is known as heterogeneous mixture. I am repeating again and again because it's probably a new topic for some students at least. Maybe some of you must have already studied, but some of you it's new. Therefore, I wanted to make you these terms very, very clear and have proper understanding. I don't want any child to cram anything. Okay? We don't encourage in our Prodigy Vidyalaya rote learning, not at all. You cannot cram, you cannot memorize unless it is related to the data, facts of history, etc. You are not supposed to cram. Everything you need to understand. So I am repeating few things again and again. Later on we can increase the pace, that's a different story. Now, if the mixture is homogeneous, and the homogeneous mixture containing two or more than two components or substances is nothing but a very good term known as solution. Okay? Solutions are homogeneous mixture of two or more than two components. Okay? Why are we emphasizing solutions, children? Solutions topic in chemistry is very, very important. In all three branches of chemistry, named inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, physical chemistry, the concept of solutions is very, very crucial, because when you carry out a reaction, you need to prepare proper solution. Without preparing a proper solution, you may not be able to carry out even a reaction. You understand? If there are two substances like sodium chloride and silver nitrate, okay, they can react, but only when they are in solution form. That means you must prepare their aqueous solutions, that means the solution in water, and then mix them. You will find the reaction happens immediately. Otherwise, you mix the salts in solid state without making solutions. Even if you keep it for hours and days and months, no reaction takes place. They will physically be present together as a mixture only. No reaction takes place. But in case if we can prepare their aqueous solutions, the ions of those substances will be released in water. And when the ions are released, then oppositely charged ions of different substances will combine together and form a new compound. So such a crucial thing, a formation of a solution or understanding the concept of solutions. That's why I am again and again repeating these things, which are very, very important for understanding several things further. Okay. So solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more components. In case if we have two components, one component is always solvent, which is the component which dissolves the substance. So solvent is the substance that dissolves. Whoever is being added, whatever is being added, that will be dissolved in a component which is known as a solvent. Okay, you have written the answers in the test also. Many children have written correct definitions for solute, solvent, solution, etc. That's good to see. But then I am again repeating because it's so important. So solute is the substance that gets dissolved, the one which you are adding, so that it gets dissolved in the particular solvent, like especially the water, which is an universal solvent. You have seen the demonstration last time. So that is the solute, which is the substance that gets dissolved. So solvent plus solute is solution. So if one solvent, obviously solvent will be one, you can add more solutes. So if you have one solvent which is symbolized by A, and always the solutes are symbolized by B, C, D, etc. If you have one solvent and one solute A plus B, and the solution is known as binary solution. Bi for 2, tri for 3, okay, quaternary for 4, pentenary or penta for 5, you know that. So bi means 2, tri means 3, okay, tetra or quadra, both are used, okay, then penta for 5, something like that. So if there are only two components, it is binary solution. If there are three components, it is ternary solution, ternary. It is written here, ternary solution, A plus B plus C. B plus C, these two are solutes, and this is A is always solvent. A is always solvent. A symbol is conventionally used for solvent. So B is a solute, C is also solute, D will also be solute. Those depending upon the nature of the solution, whether it is binary or ternary or quaternary or pentenary. But you know, for practical purposes and in higher classes also, as I said earlier, we mostly focus on binary solutions. So we don't study much about quaternary and pentenary solutions except in some topics. Especially the numerical part is there. There we use them. Otherwise, mostly the properties and all we study for binary solutions, even in the later stage. Okay. So the solutions are classified on the basis of the number of components as binary, ternary, quaternary, etc. This is one classification of solutions. See, interestingly, solutions are classified in different ways. Number one, on the basis of number of components, whether it has 2 components or 3 or 4 or 5. If there are 2 components, it's a binary solution. If there are 3 components, it's a ternary solution. If there are 4 components, it's a quaternary solution, and so on. This is one simple classification of solutions. Then what is the second classification? Classification of solutions on the basis of the amount of solute which I have already shown through demonstrations. Like, if I dissolve more amount of solute, I may dissolve less amount of solute than the capacity of a solvent. Okay, and I may dissolve more amount of solute on heating the solvent, so that the solubility of the solvent is increased at higher temperature. On the basis of this, whether I am dissolving less amount of solute in a particular quantity of solvent, sufficient amount of solute in a particular quantity of solvent, more than sufficient in a particular quantity of solvent. On the basis of the amount of solute, we classified solutions as saturated, unsaturated and supersaturated. This also you studied. Again I am repeating. Saturated solution is the solution in which no more solute can be added, because the capacity of that solvent to dissolve is over. Even if you add a small particle, it gets settled down at the bottom, it will not be dissolved at all. Thus, such a solution is known as saturated solution. I have some data. Pay attention to this data, children. You know about solubility. Solubility is another term which I explained you. I am repeating again. Solubility is the capacity of a solvent to dissolve a particular solute at a given temperature. Okay? Because if the temperature is increased, the solubility of the solvent will increase. Now, solubility is basically a capacity of a solvent to dissolve a particular solute. That's it. So you understood the concept, but technically there is a definition. Okay, technical definition is the amount of solute dissolved in grams. I mean, you will have to use CGS units. You will have to use CGS units, means C for centimeter, G for gram, S for second. Okay, you must have studied units and dimensions in physics. So that really helps you in physics as well as chemistry, even in maths also. So the amount of solute in grams dissolved per 100 gram of the solvent. So you will have to fix the amount of the solvent, 100 gram of the solvent. In case of water, 100 gram water equals to 100 ml water. So even if I write 100 ml of water also is correct. So the amount of solute in grams dissolved per 100 gram of water or 100 ml of water at a given temperature. See the data. There is a substance named silver nitrate. Look at this solubility data of some substances selectively I have taken so that you understand better how solubility varies from one substance to another substance. So silver nitrate is one of the important salt whose solubility is 216 gram per 100 gram water. In just 100 ml water, you can dissolve 216 gram of silver nitrate. You must be surprising, or you may be astonishing that how is this possible that in 100 gram you are adding more than 200 gram. I have only 100 gram water or 100 ml water, And you are saying that I can dissolve more than 200 gram? Yes, you can do it. Because if the substance which is being added, it all depends on the nature of the substance that you are adding. Suppose you are adding sand in water, not a single gram will be dissolved. Rather, the volume of the mixer raises up. Volume of the mixer raises up. If you add 100 gram sand in 100 gram water, now the volume of the water also, the whole quantity will raise, because the sand also will occupy some space. But here it doesn't happen. You take 100 gram, I'll give an example. It's very interesting to see this. Say, I have a beaker and I have exactly 100 ml water. Okay? 100 ml water. How much? 100 ml water. I filled it up to 100 ml only. 100 ml mark is there. Now, when I start dissolving silver nitrate, what do you think? I am adding 216 gram of silver nitrate in this. So, what do you think the volume of the solution becomes? 216 gram I am adding. So, whether the water level increases? The answer is no. Even if you take, suppose I have a test tube. I am filling this test tube with water. So this test tube is completely, it is filled. This test tube is completely filled. Even if I add one drop more, the water will overflow and fall down. It is completely filled. Maybe you can see. If I pour more, the water will come out, you see. It's coming out. Now it is completely filled. You can see the curve kind of thing also. Upper meniscus we call it as. It is, the water is appearing above the surface of or the end of the test tube in the form of a concave shape. There is a curve kind of thing is there. Now if I add even a drop, the water will fall down. Now interestingly, if I put some salt in it, I'll try. So I have say ammonium chloride. Okay. This is not ammonium chloride. Just a minute, I'll take one particular salt and I'll show you how it works. I'm adding copper sulfate because it is blue in color, so you can easily understand whether the substance is being added or not. If it is colored substance, you can easily understand whether I am adding it and how much I am adding, you can understand. Say I am taking some copper sulfate, I will show you. Copper sulfate, which is blue in color, you can see it clearly. And now I have full test tube of water. If I add any more water, it will fall down. See, I am adding some copper sulfate. See what will happen. See, it is going inside, but water is not falling down. Okay, water is not falling down. This is only a drop, of course. So how is this happening? If I would have added a drop of water, water would have fallen down. But I added some salt. Now, surprisingly, I can add more salt. water will not fall down. It's gone. Okay. So if I dissolve this, I can add more. It is not dissolved completely. It will take some time. If it gets dissolved, if this copper sulfate gets dissolved completely, I mean the solution becomes blue in color, I can dissolve more. Because if it doesn't dissolve, then it occupies some space. If it gets dissolved, then what will happen? This copper sulfate molecules or ions, they will occupy the spaces between water molecules. And there will be a new force of attraction between the ions of copper sulfate and water molecules. That's the reason why, even if I add more copper sulfate, though the test tube is already filled, water will not fall down. Okay? So, twice I already added. So, this is very interesting fact that in case if you are able to dissolve a substance, then its volume will not increase, because these newly added ions will take the places of the spaces between the molecules. And one more thing, what happens is, when you are adding a substance in water which is fairly soluble, then you will have a new force of attractions. Suppose if I say, I'll take an example. Suppose you know that A is given for solvent. Symbol A is given for solvent. Say for our solvent is water. Now this is A solid water. This is also A water. Now when you consider water, there will be an absolute force of attraction between water molecule and water molecule. Otherwise, what will happen if there are no force of attractions between water molecule and water molecule? Suppose what I am trying to tell you is that if I have some water in my test tube, there are so many water molecules in this. Say half test tube I have, there are so many water molecules. Millions of water molecules are there here. Okay? Now, in case if there are no force of attraction between one water molecule and another water molecule, what will happen? They will escape. And that will happen when we forcibly heat it. If I heat it, what will happen? I am forcing them to go away from each other. But at room temperature, if it is existing in the form of water, that means they have some force of attractions. And those force of attractions between water and water are known as like forces. Children, you must get some doubts in case if you start thinking about these concepts. If you don't think, it's a different story. That all looks like a mess and boring. But if you start thinking, you will find it's very, very interesting. Have you ever thought that why some substances are soluble and some are insoluble? When I am saying that copper sulfate, which is blue in color, it is soluble in water. See, the whole solution is becoming gradually blue in color. Now, if I shake the solution, this remaining copper sulfate also will be dissolved. But I am not shaking because the water will fall down. Okay? It is up to the brim of the that means up till the tip of the test tube. So the water is present till the brim of the test tube. Okay? Water is present till the brim of the test tube. As soon as the more and more the solid is dissolved, the color changes to more and more blue. Okay? So maybe you must be wondering why sand is insoluble in water. Have you ever thought of? I said sand is insoluble in water. Maybe you must have asked yourself why sand is insoluble in water. Sugar is soluble in water. When you put sugar in water and mix it, it's fairly soluble. Have you ever thought why it is soluble? Put some sodium chloride, namak, the common salt, table salt, which we use every day, in water and mix it, it gets dissolved. Okay. Put calcium carbonate, chalk powder in water, it doesn't dissolve. It won't dissolve. Have you ever asked yourself why? Now, if you have this kind of curiosity and urge to learn, this is what is known as inquiry approach. Inquiry approach. You must develop inquiry approach and curiosity to learn. You must be curious to know. You must be curious to know, why is this happening? Why is this not happening? I am shocked to know some children are saying that the videos are very lengthy. I mean, ridiculous. Who told you to watch the video, even if my video is 1.5 hours? Who told you to watch the video for 1.5 hours? 15 minutes. Watch the video for 15 minutes. Don't misguide others. Don't misguide yourself and misguide others. Watch for 15 minutes. Make a note of those points, whatever you understand. You must prepare the note. Children, this year, even if the schools are going to be start very soon, because I think today only the breaking news is that HRD ministry, the entire education comes under HRD ministry, Human Resource Development Ministry, it comes under education. Now HRD ministry gave the green signal for opening schools, but especially starting from senior classes, maybe from 7th, 8th classes or something like that, they are going to send us some guidelines very soon. Then your schools will be in alternate days. Monday 50% of the school students may come, and Tuesday remaining 50% of the students will come. Suppose if you have a strength of 40 students in a class or 30 students in a class, today 15 students will come and then these students will come day after. So remaining 15 students will come tomorrow. Okay, so what are you going to do in this particular gap days? I mean, weekly only 3 times you are coming. What are you going to do in these 3 gap days? You will not sleep, and we won't let you sleep. So we will be sending these kind of videos only. So listen carefully. Watch for 15 minutes or 20 minutes at your capacity, according to your capacity. If you can listen, if you are finding interesting, if you are taking really interest, you are really trying to understand, definitely you will be interested and you will be curious to know more and more about, and then you can increase the span of time. Maybe half an hour you listen, make points and stop the video. And if you are getting bored in 10 minutes, stop the video, my dear. So why are you misguiding others that the video is lengthy? You can watch, you wanted to watch a movie for lengthy 3 hours, and if you get irritated, if there are advertisements in between. Isn't it? If there are advertisements in between, you get irritated. You want a complete movie in a stretch of 3 hours. You enjoy it, but you don't enjoy learning. That's why I said it's ridiculous. So don't misguide. So try to understand concepts. Watch the video for limited time, because it's going to be part of your life, my dear children. It's going to be part of your life. Obviously, classroom teaching will never be replaced, I am telling you. Even in the next century also, the classroom teaching will never be replaced. Classroom teaching has its own importance, because when a teacher is teaching in the class in front of the children, teaching is added with emotions. So teaching plus emotion equals to learning, we call it as. So through this online education or virtual classroom, that emotion part is missing. We understand, you understand, the whole world is understanding. But in circumstances like this, you will have to follow. We all need to follow that. So maybe you will be coming for only 3 days, and rest of the 3 days you will have to watch videos. Otherwise, the syllabus will not be completed. Though the government is reducing the syllabus by 25 to 35%, syllabus will be reduced. Okay, that's what they are planning. But then 3 days school, 3 days you are at home. That means you will have to have some stuff to learn. So obviously it will happen, it will continue. These video lessons, the virtual classroom program will continue. Okay, so this should be the part of your life. So pay attention, children. Be curious. Try to ask questions. Why this is happening? Why not this happening? I'll tell you the reason why. If I put this chalk powder in this, it is calcium carbonate, it will not dissolve. Instead, if I put some copper sulfate or sodium chloride or ammonium chloride or silver nitrate, it will immediately get dissolved. Nothing you can see. But if I put this, you will see that it gets settled down at bottom. Why? I'll tell you why. See, as I said, this is the solvent. And you all know that this is solvent water. So this is A. Now I said that between solvent and solvent there are force of attractions. They are known as like forces. They are known as like forces. Now what I am doing, I am adding a solute. So that is B. Okay, maybe B. Now when I am adding B, that B may be copper sulfate. Just now I have shown you copper sulfate. Say for example this is B. This is copper sulfate, B which is blue in color. Its common name is blue vitriol. In Hindi I think Neela Tota, something like that. Okay. So it's blue vitriol. And copper sulfate also, there are some force of attractions between B and B. So there are force of attractions between copper sulfate and copper sulfate. It is not that they don't attract. There are so many millions of ions are there in this. They are also having some force of attractions between them, and they are also known as like forces between B and B. They are also known as like forces. Like forces, same. So force of attraction between A and A, like forces. Force of attraction between B and B are also like forces. Now, when I add this B to A, when I add this B to A, okay, what is happening? There is an interaction between, is there an interaction or not? Yes, there is an interaction. There is an interaction between whom? A and B. A is water and B is copper sulfate. Now I mix them. I am trying to mix them. I can do with this chalk also. The thing will be different in case of chalk. I'll show you that as well. If I am putting a piece of chalk in this, see, so I got two test tubes now. In both the cases I have taken water as a solvent. Okay, roughly I have taken 5 ml water in both the cases. Now in this, copper sulfate is completely dissolved and its color also changed to blue. Okay, and see here, I put a chalk piece. I'll put more chalk piece also. It will not be dissolved. It will remain same in that. And even if I shake this for a very long time, nothing will happen. The chalk piece will look like that only. You know, it is settled down at the bottom. It will never be dissolved because the nature of substance is like that, it never be dissolved. So what is the reason why it doesn't get dissolved and this is getting dissolved? Here you are getting a homogeneous mixture and this is a heterogeneous mixture because here the B component is not getting dissolved and spreading uniformly throughout the mass. This solution is not uniform. Here you have calcium carbonate and here you have water. Now look at this. Where is the copper sulfate? Where is the copper ions? Where is sulfate ions? Where is copper sulfate and where is water? It is uniformly distributed. That's why it is known as homogeneous mixture. This is heterogeneous mixture. Now why is this happening? Why this is getting dissolved and why this is not getting dissolved? Very simple, children. I'll get you understand. Look at this. I said there are forces of attraction between water and water, and they are known as like forces. And there are forces of attractions between copper sulfate and copper sulfate. They are known as again like forces. And in this second test tube, force of attractions between water and water are like forces. force of attractions between calcium carbonate and calcium carbonate. They are also like forces. Now, when water is in contact with, two cases are there. Case 1, water is in contact with calcium carbonate. Case 2, this side, blue color solution. Water is in contact with copper sulfate. Now, whenever they are interacting or whenever they are in contact with each other, those components. So, that means A is in contact with B. A is in contact when I add B to A. Now, the force of attraction between A and B, when you add something, there may be a force of attraction, there may not be. Okay? And if there is a force of attraction between A and B, that force is known as unlike forces. This force is known as unlike force between A and B. That means chalk and water. I mean calcium carbonate and water. Here copper sulfate and water. They are known as unlike forces. Now two cases arise, children. If these like forces AA and BB. So case 1. There are two cases arise here. Case 1. If these unlike forces are, like forces, A between A and A, B and B, they are similar atoms, similar molecules, so they are known as like forces. If the like forces are more than unlike forces, what are unlike forces? AB. If the like forces are, that means already existing forces between water and the copper sulfate and copper sulfate, or chalk and chalker. If the like forces are stronger than unlike forces, the forces which are newly forming, when you add, then the force of attractions between A and B are known as unlike forces. If the like forces are stronger, substance will not be dissolved. That means, in case of this chalk, the force of attractions between the ions are so strong that it will not be dissolved. Because the force of attractions between this and this, B and B, are very strong. So, unlike forces. The second case is, if unlike forces are greater. If unlike forces are greater, that means between A and B. That is the case 2. Now we can guess what will happen easily. This is case 1. Case 1 is if like forces are greater, then the substance is insoluble. Now case 2, if AB forces or unlike forces are greater than AA and BB, then the substance is soluble. See, so simple to understand. If the like forces are stronger, that means the forces already existing in A and A, B and B, the actual substances, the pure substances, before you mix them, if those forces are very strong, then the substance is insoluble. If the new forces between A and B, they are known as unlike forces, water and copper sulfate, water and sodium chloride, water and sugar, water and acetic acid, that is vinegar, water and citric acid, lemon. If these forces, the unlike forces are more, then the substance gets dissolved. And force of attractions are more. When you say force of attractions are more, between unlike forces. Therefore, the molecules, then the B and A, when the force of attraction increases, so for example, this is A and this is B. When I am saying that these unlike forces are more, what will happen? They come closer. They come closer because of the force of attraction. So, volume of the solution will not be increased. Now, you may be wondering that when I am adding this, where it is going? And you must ask these questions, my dear children. Where it is going? Now, see, I can add more copper sulfate in this without changing its volume. Why? There is a new force of attraction which are bringing the molecules close to each other so that volume will not increase. like that. So these kind of questions must raise in your mind. It's not that studying science is like whatever is there is mugging up, cramming, rote learning, memorizing. It's rubbish, I am telling you. Understand, ask yourself why this happens. Why doesn't it happen like this? You must disagree to some facts. No, according to me, if you are adding, see, is it not a shocking thing? I have taken this example specially. In 100 gram water, you are able to add 216 gram, and if you are increasing the temperature of this water by 20 degrees Celsius, which is the common room temperature in India, that means 20 degrees Celsius is the common room temperature in India. That means you can dissolve 265 gram of silver nitrate in 100 gram water. 265 gram. Just imagine, this is 100 gram water. This is 100 ml. It is 100 ml, so it is slightly less now. I'll add some more water, so I'll make it 100 ml. Right, this is 100 ml. So the meaning of this data is that at 20 degrees Celsius, in India it is room temperature. Sometimes room temperature is 25, 30. Now in summer the room temperature is going up to 35, 37 also. So now I think we can dissolve more than 265 gram. So in 100 gram water, this is exactly 100 gram water, I can dissolve 265 gram of silver nitrate salt without changing its volume, and you will find that the whole solution will appear this much only. When you are adding 265 gram doesn't mean that the solution will take more volume. It's very interesting. So why all this is happening? Why the volume is not increasing? Even if it is increased, it's very, very slightly. Sometimes the volume decreases slightly, and that you understand in senior classes. The total volume of the solution is slightly less than the volume of the solvent, slightly less than. So even if it increases, it slightly increases, but the whole 265 gram of the solute is being accommodated in the same solvent. How is it possible without changing the volume of the solution, without changing the volume of the mixer? That happens because this is what is happening. These forces between water and silver nitrate are so strong that the molecules are coming closer. They are now occupying lesser space in the solution. So therefore, because of those unlike forces which are strong, very, very strong, in case of silver nitrate, it is fairly soluble. Now, silver nitrate in water is said to be fairly soluble in water, fairly soluble. That means that's why it is dissolving so much of salt in a limited quantity of 100 ml water or 100 gram water. Now, see the other example, ammonium chloride, which we have tested on the other day. Actually, we did it in a very rough manner. I said that roughly I am taking 5 ml water. Actually, it was not 5 ml water. I said roughly I am taking 1 gram. It is not 1 gram. It may be less than 1 gram. So, roughly when we calculated per 100 gram by taking 5 ml, if I am not wrong, somewhere 26.5 grams, something like that, its capacity we said. Actually, it is. If you take the exact quantity of water and exact weighing of the substance, if you weigh correctly, then at 10 degrees Celsius, its solubility is 33 gram ammonium chloride, which we have done last time in our demonstration, and at 20 degrees Celsius, 37.2. So on that day when I gave the demonstration, it was more than 20 degrees Celsius. That means the amount must have been dissolved must be more than 37.2 gram, because since we have taken roughly we got somewhere 26 point something, but it is the exact value. So 37.2 gram. Now see the difference between 265 gram and 37.2 gram. They are all in grams. I mentioned here. Solubility in grams. 265 gram, 37.2 gram, 119 gram, 1.42 gram. You see, there are some substances in the same amount of 100 ml of water. If you dissolve lead chloride, only 1.2 gram will be dissolved and 1.42 gram will be dissolved at 20 degrees Celsius. We can't dissolve more than 1.42 gram. Otherwise, that start to get settled down. After 1.42 gram, the remaining lead chloride which you add will start settling down at the bottom and the whole volume of the solution start increasing. Such a huge difference is there as far as the solubility of different substances is concerned. And the reason behind is this. Now when I say fairly soluble, that means the force of attraction between A and B are very, very strong. Unlike forces are stronger than like forces, but not very, very strong. In that case, you see 109 gram is dissolved per 100 gram. 119 gram is dissolved per 100 gram. It is soluble. Good enough quantity is soluble. 119 gram is soluble. But it is almost half of 265. I can't say that this sodium hydroxide is very, very fairly soluble. It is fairly soluble, but not like silver nitrate. Okay. Now, if I talk about lead chloride is partially soluble. Now, I must use this word partially soluble. Partially means only little bit is being dissolved in the same 100 gram water. So, in 100 gram water, only 1.42 gram at 20 degrees Celsius you can dissolve. So, such substances are known as partially soluble. Partially soluble. They are also known as sparingly soluble. Two terms are given. Partially soluble or sparingly soluble. Sparingly soluble. Remember these terms. Because when you read some stuff in the later stage pertaining to reactions or other aspects, they mention aqueous solution, sparingly soluble salt, fairly soluble salt, homogeneous mixture. All these terms, when they come, if you don't know the correct meaning, you get a different understanding. You understand differently, and obviously it leads to misconception of your thoughts about a particular concept, which should not happen. So be careful. So this is all is happening because of that. So partially soluble or sparingly soluble. So finally, what we can conclude is there are some substances which are said to be fairly soluble if the force of unlike forces are very, very strong in comparison to the like forces, and there are some substances are absolutely insoluble. That means the like forces are stronger than unlike forces, just opposite. This is greater than this. So insoluble. I said insoluble. So insoluble, sparingly soluble if the force of attractions are slightly greater than unlike forces. They are sparingly soluble. They are very strong. Unlike forces are very strong. Then substance is fairly soluble. Very, very strong. Highly soluble. Example is silver nitrate. Children, that's all for today. And in today's test also, I will be asking again the topic solutions only. Homogeneous, heterogeneous, binary, ternary, quaternary solution. Like forces, unlike forces, sparingly or partially soluble, then fairly soluble, insoluble. Why some substances are insoluble, why some substances are soluble, why substances are fairly soluble. I'll ask these kind of questions in your test. Okay, clear children? So please listen to the video carefully. If you have any doubts, you can post. Thank you.